Hey, good afternoon everyone, it's Tractor Man 44 here. I've got to do some work that requires getting up above the loft here in this shed, so I decided it's time to move this old boy out. Now this is a 1939 John Deere A. As I understand, it's within 4,000 or 5,000 of the very first styled A. And if you guys don't know what styled or unstyled John Deeres are, I'm sure you've seen the old tractors that had the steering column exposed and had the big long steering shaft coming down through, and then out in front you saw the big tower and then a radiator and stuff behind it with no sheet metal shrouding on anything. Those were unstyled tractors. Well, somewhere around 1939ish or 1940, they took those unstyled tractors and they styled them by making them more streamlined. Like that was what was happening in the late 30s with pretty much all of the farm tractor manufacturers. They were kind of spiffing them up a little bit, putting side curtains and just making them look a little more presentable. And even some of them actually had like an automobile cab on them, you know, and an extremely fast road gear. And they advertised them as though they could plow all week or work all week on the farm, and then take your family to shopping or to church on Sunday. You know what I mean? But at any rate, the trend in the late 30s, early 40s was to style these tractors. So this is one of the very first styled tractors. Its serial number is 480616, and according to tractor data, 488,000 started in 1940, so this is definitely a 1939. Now this thing here's got a unique story. This was a buddy of my dad's. I think he was a mechanic for the highway department, and he bought this tractor brand new off the lot in 1940 or 41, a little unsure of the year. He couldn't actually remember whenever I got it from him. All he ever done was plow his garden and a few other garden plots, you know, up and down the little town that he lived in. He lived inside the city limits of a small town here locally, about 15, 18 miles north of me. And so it's never really worked a lot at all. Just, you know, 2 acres at a time here and there, you know. Consequently, it sat outside, lived a rough life outside, but he kept painting it. Painted with the paintbrush. There's 5 or 6 different colors on it. You can actually see pink under here somewhere. His nephew was a very good friend of mine. He's the one that was telling me about it, how Uncle Woody would just go out with the paintbrush and whatever paint he had left over and just paint it, you know. It's got, by the grace of God, he had green the last time, you know. So at least it's a semblance of green. But the paint's about a 1/4 inch thick on it. Not really, but it's pretty thick. But this is a 1939 John Deere A. Now, unfortunately, it's been sitting here for a number of years. I had it running, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago or so. It plumb rotted a chunk of wood I had the rear axle setting on. But I have no suspicion in my mind that it's going to start today because it's been sitting for so long. I've not done anything with the carburetor. I've done absolutely nothing. It's got a set of petcocks on it. The petcocks are full of mud dauber nest. I got to clean those out. Petcocks release the compression on the cylinders. These OA's got like a 6-inch jug on them, you know. I don't know what the stroke is, but they're about a 6-inch diameter piston. So whenever you're turning it over without the petcocks, it's really hard to get it to start because you can't hardly turn against that much compression. So you open the petcocks, that releases the pressure, and you're able to spin it and possibly get it to fire up. Because this is the old turn it with a flywheel type, or not a hand crank, but the old cast iron flywheel on the side of the tractor. But like I say, I have no doubt that it is not going to start. But you know, luck may be with us. I don't know. I'm gonna clean those petcocks. We're gonna give it a shot. If it wasn't so boring to y'all, I'd tell you the whole story, man. I've had this thing for a pretty good while. Never used it, just kind of played with it every now and then. But it's time to move it out of the way, so I'm going to try to get the thing going. This is a bracket here, a brace to keep from knocking the spark plugs off if you're in heavy brush and things like that. And underneath that is a petcock. You can see me open it right here. But I got to clean, before I open that up, I got to clean the mud daubers and stuff out of that. So that's just going to take a few seconds, I hope. So I'm going to put a little gas in it. I'm going to open both petcocks. I'm going to turn the motor over a couple times. Put a little bit of gas in the petcocks. Turn the gas on up here. I guess I better, before I turn the gas on, I just noticed the sediment bowl's empty. I forgot to put gas in it. This has a gasoline and a kerosene tank. These old tractors had shutters on the front of the radiators, as did a lot of tractors back in the 30s, and they would run on kerosene or distillate or gasoline. And what you would do if you had a distillate or a kerosene run machine is you would put gas in the small gasoline tank. You would start the engine on the more volatile gasoline. You would get the engine up to temperature with the shutters closed. Once you got the engine up to temperature, it's easier to combust or to continue the ignition of the distillate or the kerosene fuel by changing the petcock position under here on the on the sediment bowl, and it would then allow the kerosene to go on into the carburetor, and it would continue running on kerosene. But most of them over the years had been eliminated. They eliminated the shutters, they eliminated the kerosene run, and just run them on straight gas. This one still has the shutters intact. My petcock is stuck. That's really cool. That's a Lueckenheimer brass valve. Lueckenheimer is a popular brand of oiler that goes on single-cylinder make and brake or throttle-governed one-cylinder engines. That's kind of interesting. It's a Lueckenheimer brass valve. He actually drilled a hole in it, put a wire on it to hold it up so it wouldn't fall open or close. See a little gas seeping out, so I'm getting gas into the carburetor. Well, you know what that means there, don't you? That means it's getting spark. I'm going to put a little more fuel back in here. You don't have to worry about flooding it too bad because the petcocks are open. Put a little fuel in the other side. Did you hear that? It fired. A little more gas. Put some gas in the other side again. That is certainly encouraging. Well, you know what? You heard it run. It's more than likely not getting proper fuel through the carburetor, and I've not choked it yet either. the reason it started is because whenever I shut it down the last time, I did just what I did here. I shut the petcock and just drained the gas completely out of the bowl of the carburetor and just let it sit there dry docked. And I remember once I dumped a little gas in that I had to tighten up the gas line. I drained what little residual was still in the fuel tank. So the only thing that saved this thing for sitting all these years is the fact that that I drained the fuel system. And of course I pulled the plug and drained water out of the radiator. You saw me put a little antifreeze in there right now. That's because it's fall. I might not get around to anything till cold weather. But you know what? In retrospect, now that I actually kind of got it going, I'm really seriously considering putting this one on the market. If you know anybody interested in a 1939 Model A John Deere, turn them on to the video, you know, because I think I am. I bought it out of sentimentality for the friendship between the old man and my dad, and also the nephew of the old man was a very good friend of mine. And I bought it out of sentimentality, and I just kind of wanted to see it go to a good place. Well, he's been gone now for a number of years, and I think it's okay to go ahead and pass it on. You know what I mean? So I've had it now for 20 years or better. I'd have to go back and look and see. But I'll try to look that stuff up and kind of let you know a little more accurately about that. Maybe in the description or something. And if you haven't read the description, sometimes I write some pretty detailed descriptions about what's happening in the video, or maybe a backstory to it. So that might be something for you to think about. But at any rate, you know what? I'm totally stoked, totally surprised that this thing did fire up. I had no suspicion that it would. I really thought that as long as it had been sitting, I was going to have to do something to it, you know. But I'm really tickled. So you know what? This Tractor Man 44, and I am out of here, guys.